Welcome to the DTC Football Premiere. I'm Chris Vance with DTC Sports, and today we're joined by Coach Steve Trapp, the head coach of DeKalb County Football. Coach Trapp, how are you?
Doing well. Appreciate y'all guys being here today.
COVID-19, what about COVID-19?
Well, there's a lot to it. It's really dictated, how our world is actually acting right now, and really dictating, what you can do sports-wise, and how you lead a group of young men during all this. It gives you a lot of opportunities to be positive and teach these young men how to do things. There are some negatives to it, of course, but my outlook on it is, it's just wake up every morning, focus on what you can control, and then just do what you are able to do. And for here at us at DeKalb County, it's always been doing what you do to affect people. We've been able to get the work in that we've needed to get done. We've just had to do it a lot differently. So like I said, there's some positives and negatives to it.
Go into a little bit of detail just about how some of those changes are compared to, say, last season's camp.
Well, definitely going into our, first and foremost, not having a spring practice. School getting, pretty much canceled, and then we were a couple of weeks away from going into spring ball when all of that started. So missing those installs, that's the scrimmage that you have in the spring, very beneficial, just for these guys, because you work through the winter, basically for that spring action and to see, how it's impacted those guys physically and mentally. So missing spring ball would be the first thing, and then, your work in the summertime. We got started, a week or so later. We were able to get started June 1. The big difference for that is, being in small groups, for those first few weeks, only having 10 guys together, having multiple practice sessions. There were some positives to that, but, the one biggest negative was just not having your whole team together, constantly working and grinding together to build that team bond. The positive to it, though, was, those small groups, you could really coach them. Small group, and especially the young guys who's not been exposed to, that spring install and things like that. So that was the biggest positive. Coming in after dead period, able to bump up your groups a little bit. We were actually able to go groups of 50. We stayed well beyond that just because it went so well with the small groups. We stayed in groups of 15 or less, still not having the whole team out here at one time. It still went pretty well, as far as getting those guys coached up. But, getting back with school starting and things like that, we're going to have the team together and able to do more of the things to get you more prepared for hopefully a season.
I had the opportunity to talk with Coach Cagle just the other day, and he was talking about how some things with these adjustments and these precautions had gone so well that it might be something y'all would consider when the restrictions get lifted.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, you could have groups of 50. We've got 54 guys on the team, and if everything was normal, we're usually split into two big groups anyway. We've stayed away from that simply to, be more precautionary. And like you said, as well as it has been going with coaching these guys in those small groups. So we've got our upperclassmen guys, and at this point, we can call anything and they've got it. But we don't have our younger guys sitting there getting, muddied up by doing the things that they're doing because they're not there yet. So we can take a little bit of different approach with those. But the details with all of them, with 14, 15 guys in a group and a couple of coaches, you can just really dig into those details a lot more.
Let's start broad, and then we're going to narrow this down as we kind of progress a little bit. What does this edition of DeKalb County High School Tiger football look like?
Well, on paper, it looks really good. The last 3 years, we've not had double-digit senior classes. Last year, I think we had 6 or 7. Only 3 of those guys actually played. Bradford was hurt all year, so I really don't put him into that group. Right now we've got 9 guys back on offense, 9 guys back on defense. It's not all the same guys. We've got some really good depth players this year, and some really good talented athletes, that's been on the field for 3 and 4 years. All of our skill guys are back except for 1 on offense. Our whole offensive line is back except for 1. Defensively, I think there's 3 guys, but our secondary is all back except for 1. When they're all back, our linebackers are back. The biggest thing on defense is replacing a couple of D-line guys. We've got a great rotation in that. We've still got some guys that could be a force on that side, but we've got some good depth to where we still don't have to force them to try to do both sides of the ball. So on paper, it looks really good, but you don't win football games on paper. You don't win football games based on what you did last year. We didn't start the season the way we wanted to. We definitely got better and made some noise there at the end. So this year, our biggest thing is, like on our shirt, it's being united. Because I told the guys, we didn't start the season united the way we needed to be. And when I say united, these guys do a great job of doing what we ask when they're here and things like that, but we can always take it to another level just to make sure they're working for each other, working for this community. But it could and can be a magical season if we can stay healthy, if we can stay hungry, and we get an opportunity to play.
Desmond Noakes, Isaac Knowles, Evan Jones, lethal.
Yes.
Kind of receiving core. You've got a senior quarterback that has a ton of experience. Is this perhaps the most talented set of receivers that you have had at DeKalb County High School?
It's possible. They've made a lot of plays. 2012, I still claim that to be the best football team that we've had. And what made them special is, they had that united front to where they were working and competing so much with each other to lift everybody up. This is one thing that we talk to this team about every day is, you have the athletes, probably more athletes across the board than maybe what they did, but the mindset is a little different. And they started catching on and working towards that mindset towards the end of the year. But, the last 2 years, Desmond and Isaac has played the same position. And last year, they both had 27, 28 catches. And out of those 27 catches for Desmond, he had double-digit touchdown receptions. That's not the case this year. Those guys are going to be on the field a lot. If they need a break, they'll take a few snaps on offense. But Desmond, I just feel like, that's somebody that cannot be guarded. Isaac the same way. Anytime he touched the ball last year, it was always a positive thing. So now they're going to be on the field at the same time. Isaac stays in that slot receiver. We're moving Desmond out to that X receiver, who typically has been our guy, who's made a lot of plays. But I've never really had a tight end like I have in Evan Jones. And, he's gained about 25 pounds. He's 6'6", 240. He's played a year of tackle as a sophomore. So when he's in the game, he's going to have his hand in the dirt, or he'll be in the backfield with that sniffer look. So he's going to be heavily involved in the run game. But he's also versatile enough to be heavily involved in the passing game as well. And when we want to go stand-up receivers, all four of them, we've got a couple guys that we can bring in. Tyjon Ledette was going to be that guy, but unfortunately, with the situation that he's in, Silas Cross is going to be a guy that, we're going to see a lot more on offense. Josh May will be a guy that we can see a lot more on offense as well, and they just fit that mold to where we can use multiple personnel groupings. Aiden Curtis will be a guy in certain situations. We're going to have him back in on offense where we can be a little heavier on one side. So I tell them all the time, I've got toys, and it's up to us to figure out different ways to be explosive on the offensive side. And when you have that experience at quarterback and up front, and I love our running back situation too. I don't have a senior running back, but I've got three guys in our top two. We've got a lot of experience with Nathaniel Cook, Kobe Barnes, and Brady Hale. And they're all going to be back for another year. So I really like what we have on the offensive side.
How do you think NCAA, the state, everybody involved, how do you think this season is going to play out?
I can't answer that. I tell a lot of people ask me questions, and we're at the point now, well, Coach, are you going to play? I'm sure you got more info than we got, and I don't. I know nothing no more than anybody else that wakes up that's involved with football or not. Again, my main focus for this program and our guys and our coaches is, hey, let's just wake up every morning and control what we can. And as of right now, they're working on a way for us to play, so we're going to come out here every day and work so that we're the best prepared team. And if it gets to a point where we say, hey, we're not going to let you play, then we'll deal with it when it gets here. But, we're all hopeful. We're not living under a rock or living in fear, but we do understand that there's things that we got to do different for that opportunity. And we're hopeful that we get it, and that's the big thing. But as far as answering what they're going to do or what they're not going to do, I don't have enough information to talk about something I just don't know about. So, like I said, for us, last year what really worked for these guys is we just told them to keep it simple. Show up, shut up, and do the best you can for everybody else. And, it finally clicked in with them. So, we're going to keep living that. Just show up every day, work, and when we get a chance to play, we're going to be prepared.
Coach, thank you so much. You sound excited about this year's team.
Definitely.
I'm excited, and I can't wait to cover it. I sure hope we get to cover it. Steve Trapp here, head coach at DeKalb County High School. I'm Chris Vance for DTC Sports. Thank you.